The Bible is a living word that reads us as we read it. It's a person, a voice that proves that time is not linear, as one sentence can confirm the past, guide the present, and declare the future. You are here. I am here. He is here. We are here. Right now, in the tomorrow of yesterday and in the yesterday of tomorrow, I thank you for joining today. So we're back. Thank you so much for joining once again. In our last episode, we talked about how the Israelites went to battle with the Philistines and lost. And rather than consulting the Lord for strategy as to how to win against the Philistines, they sent for the Ark of the Covenant and thought that having the Ark of the Covenant on the battlefield with them would ensure a victory. In essence, they treated the Ark of the Covenant like a talisman or a lucky charm. And they soon found out that it didn't work out in their favor. The Philistines whooped the Israelites like bad. And in addition to whooping them and wiping out 30,000 of them, they also stole the Ark of the Covenant. Amongst the casualties that day were Eli's wicked sons, Hophni and Phinehas. Their death fulfilled what the Lord spoke to both Eli and Samuel, saying that they would pay for the way that they were mistreating and dishonoring the things of God in their position as priests. When Eli learned that the Ark of the Covenant was captured by the Philistines, he fell back in his chair and his neck snapped under his weight and he died. The Philistines, however, thought they had won. Not only did they defeat the Israelites, but they also captured the Ark of the Covenant. So they went with their chests puffed out and they placed the Ark of the Covenant in the temple of their idol god, Dagon. Even Dagon, which was an inanimate object, could not bear the weight of the presence of the Ark of the Covenant. It literally broke. The Philistines didn't know what to do. So the Ark of the Covenant ended up going on this journey from Philistine town to Philistine town. It literally went from the battlefield at Ebenezer to Ashdod. That's where Dagon's temple was. And then from there, the people of Ashdod were like, nah, it can't stay here. So they sent it to Gath. Gath sent it to Ekron because not only did this idol god end up breaking in the presence, but also the Lord unleashed plagues on the Philistine towns. So they were riddled with tumors and rats were infesting their towns, and it got to be very unbearable. So anytime that it got to be too much, the Philistine ruler would send it over to the next town. When it got to the town of Ekron, the Ekronites were like, nah, man, we not trying to have it. We got to figure out a different way. This is where we pick up. The Philistines finally decided, no, we have to send it back to its own town. This isn't going to work. We're not trying to keep playing these games. And so the Philistines gathered their priests and diviners and asked them, how do we send this thing back to its own country? It's gotta go or we're all gonna die. So the priest told them, okay, this is what you gotta do. You gotta send it back, but you gotta send it back with a guilt offering. Like you have to honor their God, and maybe, just maybe, these plagues will stop. And if you're healed, you'll know that it was the hand of God and that it wasn't just by happenstance that all of this stuff happened at this time while we are in possession of the Ark of the Covenant. So the Philistines decided to make 5 gold tumors and 5 gold rats. And that was going to be their guilt offering. They wanted to make 5 to represent the 5 Philistine towns and the 5 Philistine rulers. So the priest told them, we're going to send this guilt offering because we have to honor their God and maybe he'll ease up on us. We don't want to be hard-headed like Pharaoh over there in Egypt because you know how God whooped up on the Egyptians. The Philistines were like, bet, yeah, we'll send whatever you tell us we need to send, But we have to get this Ark of the Covenant back into the possession of the Israelites. Per instruction, the Philistines made a new cart. Okay, they grabbed 2 mama cows that had just birthed their baby calves. They put the cows up in a pen away from the mama cows, and then they hitched these cows to this cart. Now, these cows had never before been yoked to a cart. So they hitched them to the cart. They placed the Ark of the Covenant and the chest with the gold tumors and the gold rats on the cart. And then they sent the mama cows on their way. The Philistines had great suspicion that all of these things were happening because of the hand of God. But they had some doubt also. And they were like, just in case it's not God, we want to try some things out. The reason that they took these mama cows away from their baby calves is because it is the natural instinct of a mama cow who just birthed baby cows to stay near their newborns. Though it was the natural instinct of the mama cows to be near or to stay near their young, these mama cows followed the lead of the Lord. They went against what was natural. They went against what was instinctive. They went against what was emotional. It says that as these mama cows were traveling, they were lowing the entire time. Now, lowing is what we call mooing. It is a vocalization that cows make when they are communicating with one another. And mama cows, when they low and they're away from their young, it oftentimes is a signal of distress, or it is the mama cow trying to signal to her young so that they can find one another, which is fascinating to me because these mama cows are calling for their young. There is an awareness that they are leaving their duty, their task, their responsibility, what is natural for them, but they also are fully submitted to the service of the Lord. So they walk away from what is natural so that they can be of service to the supernatural. These mama cows traveled all the way to an Israelite town, Beth Shemesh. Meanwhile, the Israelites in Beth Shemesh saw the ark and were overwhelmed with joy. Like, yo, look, it's the Ark of the Covenant, because it was 7 months that the ark was in the possession of the Philistines. I imagine that at some point the Israelites lost hope. Like, we'll never get it back. How dumb were we to even take it onto the battlefield? It didn't even do what we thought it was going to do. They're overwhelmed with joy when they see the Ark of the Covenant just rolling in on the cart with these cows. And the cows went to the field of this guy named Joshua, and then it parked right next to this large rock. So the people of Beth Shemesh, they went, they took the wood of the cart, they chopped it up, they used it for firewood. They slaughtered the cows and offered them as burnt sacrifices to the Lord. And then these Levite men took the Ark of the Covenant and the chest with the gold articles and placed it on the large rock. Now keep in mind, the men from the tribe of Levi were actually set apart for service to God. And amongst their duties, they were responsible for caring for the holy objects and also for carrying the Ark of the Covenant. So we'll see in the future some things that happen with the Ark of the Covenant and the treatment of the Ark of the Covenant. But the Levites actually had the right to carry. They had a pass because they were set apart and they were responsible for carrying the Ark of the Covenant. So they placed it on the rock, and the people of Beth Shemesh offered many sacrifices and burnt offerings to the Lord. The 5 Philistine rulers are at a distance peeping and watching everything that's happening. I imagine their jaws dropped a little bit, like, I know these cows didn't actually, it had to be the Lord, man. Like, this not even normal. So they came to whatever conclusion, which had to be that it was in fact the hand of the Lord that was against them due to them having the Ark of the Covenant in their possession. They turned around. I imagine they kind of shrugged their shoulders like, man, Whew, I'm glad we dodged that one and sent it back. And then they went on back to Ekron. So now the Ark of the Covenant is back with the Israelites. The people are excited, they rejoice, they offer their sacrifices and burnt offerings. And then 70 men from Beth Shemesh were still on that disrespectful, dishonorable type stuff. And they decided to peek into the Ark of the Covenant. Now, that was a big no. It was an offense that was punishable by death. So they died. The people mourned and they really started tripping because they like, oh man, I can't believe the Lord would wipe them out just because they decided to peek. He know we curious. He made us curious. No, nope. Can't keep it here. Can't keep it here. This not gonna work. Because who can stand in the presence of the Lord, this holy God? So rather than actually checking themselves, rather than reviewing the law, rather than upholding the law and deciding we are going to honor God, we are going to honor the things of God, they decided instead to send the Ark of the Covenant away. They sent messengers to the people of this town called Kiriath Jearim, and they said, hey, the Philistines sent the Ark of the Covenant back. We got it. Come get it, because it can't stay here. So the men of Kiriath Jearim went to get the Ark of the Covenant, and it stayed in the home of this guy named Abinadab under the care of his son Eleazar for 20 years. 20 years. Now, what's the difference? Abinadab and Eleazar decided to live a life that was honorable and respectful of the presence of the Ark of the Covenant, whereas the people of Beth Shemesh were like, gotta get rid of it. It's gotta go. It's gotta go. During the time that the Ark of the Covenant was in the care of Abinadab and Eleazar, the people of Israel mourned. They were distraught, like, it feel like the Lord don't love us no more. Like we don't know where he is. We don't feel his presence. He's abandoned us. Samuel checked them. He got to a point where he got tired of hearing them day in and day out complaining about the Lord abandoning them. And Samuel spoke up and he said, yo, you got it twisted. The Lord hasn't abandoned you. You've abandoned him. And if you want to return to the Lord, you need to do so with your heart. And you have to get rid of all these foreign gods and all these images and all this other stuff. Look at your collection. You have a collection of idol gods. You're worshiping the gods of the Philistines, yet you over here in your feelings talking about the Lord has abandoned you. Look at your practices. You've abandoned him with your heart. You turned your heart against him. You got to get rid of all that stuff. So the Israelites got rid of all of their idol gods, the images of these gods that they were worshiping other than the one true living God. Samuel told them, I want all of Israel to gather at this place called Mizpah, and I will pray to the Lord for you. So they all gathered, and then they went all day without food and confessed of their sins. They're like, I don't want to do this no more, and I'm not going to do this, and I'm sorry, Lord. Because they were very aware that it was their doing, that they are the ones who turned away from God. So they confessed of their sins. And when the Philistines heard that all of these Israelites had gathered at Mizpah, they decided, let's go get them. So they mobilized their army to go up against the Israelites. The Israelites were afraid because they remembered what it was like the last time they went against the Philistines. 30,000 of them died. So the Israelites were like, Samuel, please don't stop praying for us. Don't stop praying for us. Samuel took a young lamb. He offered it to the Lord as a burnt sacrifice, and he pleaded to the Lord for victory against the Philistines. As Samuel was offering the burnt sacrifices, the Philistines arrived and they were ready to attack. They were about to pounce on the Israelites. But the Lord spoke, and his voice was like a mighty thunder. The Philistines were thrown into such confusion when they heard the voice of the Lord that the Israelites were able to attack them and defeat them. And it turned out that the Philistines didn't go up against them again for a long time. Throughout Samuel's lifetime, the Lord's hand was raised against the Philistines, and there was peace between them. And Samuel continued to serve as their judge for the rest of his life. And we'll stop there for this episode. A few things I do definitely want to point out. There may be a direction that the Lord is pulling you that may or may not make sense. Sometimes God may call you to do something that goes against your natural makeup or your natural instinct. But just like the mother cows who yielded to the guidance of the Lord and ended up in Beth Shemesh, the Lord may lead you or guide you away from what is familiar, away from what you love, away from what seems like is your responsibility, because He has a greater purpose for you. He wants to use you in a different way. Another thing, there may be times when it feels like God has abandoned you, but I encourage you to assess if there is anything in your life that is causing you to turn your heart away from God. The Israelites complained that God had abandoned them. Samuel checked them and he's like, "No, fam, the Lord didn't abandon you. Look at all these other things that you're giving your attention to. Look at all of these other gods that you're bowing your knee to." Now, the quote unquote gods of our time could be a celebrity, it could be a job, it could be a partner, it could be a relationship, it could be a belief system. I encourage you to invite the Holy Spirit to really analyze your life and to highlight things in your life that could be turning your heart away from Him. That just may close the distance. Because you see, after they were repentant of heart, they got rid of those things that were causing them to turn their hearts away from God. They were confessed of their sin. And the next thing you know, the Lord allowed them to be victorious against the Philistines. There's victory on the other side of repentance. There's victory on the other side of drawing back to God. There's victory on the other side of getting rid of things that are creating distance between you and God. Ask Him and He'll show you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for tuning in. I love you and I appreciate you so much for your support and for being here. Please like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And I look forward to our next episode if the Lord blesses me to record another one. Until then, bye for now.